The American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, controls the U.S. government, which is no longer an independent government and cannot make decisions of its own. It serves Zionism and corporations. This is due to AIPAC putting pressure on them. If they refuse to put these sanctions, Israeli lobbyists will destroy their re-elections and their characters in the media. Our foreign policy is controlled by Israel in the Middle East. Need more proof than this legislation? Iranians stood their ground and refused to be puppets to the US and its allies. Israel is also having nuclear weapons and yet has refused to sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty. So the question is, why doesn't America sanction them?
Some of the comments posted on our Facebook page, and of course a lot of the comments regarded the role of Israel in this issue. Before I put that question to Daniel Pipes, Mr. Marandi, let's have your response to what Mr. Pipes was saying earlier. He said that the lawmakers are suspicious of Iran and that inevitably the sanctions are going to affect civilians, and the option of force should also be on the table because Iran looks like it's not taking the talks seriously.
Well, I find the statements somewhat humorous. To compare Iran and to create and the United States and to create some sort of moral equivalence is absurd. The United States is deeply, has been deeply involved in crimes against humanity, against ordinary Iranians, helping Saddam Hussein use and produce and use chemical weapons, and to try to hide the fact that Saddam Hussein actually did that. That is despicable. And no civilized regime would do such a thing. With regards to the U.S. hostages, I think he forgets that the whole takeover of the U.S. embassy was as a result of the U.S. coup d'etat in Iran, the overthrow of the Iranian national government, and the subjugation and the oppression of the Iranian people by the United States and the Shah of Iran for decades. And the fact that the United States supported the Shah during the final months and helped and allowed the Shah to continue to oppress ordinary Iranians. And then the United States gave the Shah passage into their country, a mass murderer who was demanded by the whose return was demanded by the Iranian people and the Iranian government. So there's no moral equivalent between the two. And of course, the United States government, if we want to look more recently at its behavior, I mean, if we're talking about trust, the U.S. Congress hopefully does not represent